Hello, my name's Stephen from K-Scale Models, and today I'm doing a video on how to basically assemble and work with 3D printed resin. Now, it is very similar to how you would work with regular resin model kits. However, this is a tutorial for the very basics, those that have never assembled a resin model kit before or a 3D printed resin model kit. So, first thing we'll need to do is work out what tools we'll use. So, first thing, we will need a pair of nippers. Now, if you've got a resin 3D printer, you've probably got some of these with the printer, but I would recommend to have your own pair. This is just a random pair I've got. I've got dozens of these. Next thing I would say, hobby knife. Now, you can get an attachment for hobby knives called a hobby saw. This will also become useful, so I'll put that in. Next thing I would say is a bunch of sanding paper. So I've got these sanding sticks. For those that don't know, the lower the number, the higher the more coarse it is. The higher the number, the finer the grit is. So you would start off when using it with a higher or the lower grit and work to the higher grit. So this would be to just get rid of any nub marks. This would be to clean up all the mess that this will create, and that's to smooth it all off. So the next thing, actually, before we get into that, important health and safety. Resin is a carcinogen. Have some sort of mask. So this is mine. I bought it years ago, but yeah, it still works. Now, you don't have to get something as big as this. You can get away with smaller, but I use this enough that, yeah, it was worthwhile picking something this big up. Now, this means that when I put this on, it's going to be difficult for you to hear me, so I will probably have to edit the video at that point. So anyway, the next thing I would say that's important is some sort of filler material. Now, this is just standard hobby filler. I, to be honest, don't really like this stuff. This is a two-part epoxy. Now, this is called green stuff. I got it from, it was Army Painter or something, but yeah, you get similar sort of things such as milliput. It's useful when you've got some sort of big calamity with your model and you need to fill a major gap. This is good for small gaps. Now, you'll need something to glue this together. So I would use super glue. Now, you can use PVA glue, but one type of glue you cannot use is something like this, Mr. Cement or some sort of plastic cement. Plastic cement will like sort of weld the two parts together, so like that, melt them. Now, you can't melt resin like that, so this stuff doesn't work. So you're relying on super glue. So be careful, you will glue your fingers together. As part of that, I'd recommend to get a couple of cocktail sticks. They're cheap and they will help you out a lot. So that's the basic materials. Let's go and get a kit and we'll go from there. So the kit I'm going to be using today is one of my own, the 1/44th scale Leviathan kit. This is a triple pack, so there's 3 units in it. Now, just to save a whole bunch of time, I've separated the parts out into its own doggy bag, but normally it would all come in the one doggy bag. So I'll put this to the side for the moment. And we've got the instructions. It's always an idea when you get instructions, just have a quick look through and make sure you understand what you're doing and how all things go together. Now, instructions will vary. Garage kits are well known to sometimes not come with instructions. So, yeah. You may need to use a bit of common sense and try to work things out. So what I would say is dry fit before you actually build the kit or put any glue on the kit. That way you make sure that you're not going to do something stupid and ruin your kit. So, one other trick I've learned over the years is to basically take the parts list if you get one and just match things up with it. So I've already done it with this lot. This is a triple pack, so I'm only going to be building a certain unit from it. So this is like the 3D printed parts. Now, you'll see most of them don't come with any supports attached. Some of them do. Now, this is basically a shipping thing. Because of the size of the box, you can see this is quite small, I have to break these off the supports, but there's some that I haven't. Now, if you get a kit like this where some bits are not taken off the supports, like this bit here, I'll try and get the camera to focus. Yeah, this little bit here. This is the part I'm really interested in because this is all being done to replace a model that I broke. It fell off the table. So it had this antenna on it. So I want to use this again. But I know that's a really finicky part, and that's why it's still on the bit. So it's less likely to break in shipping because it's got all the support material around it. But stuff like this, I've just, to be honest, I've been lazy. So yeah, I would just go around quickly matching all the parts up, making sure I have everything. So quick head count, and I've mislaid something. Where's B3? So, it's at the bottom of the bag. So this is why it's important to do a head count. Make sure you actually do have all the parts. If you open a kit up and realise you don't, it's simple enough just to contact the guy you got it from and said, "Oi, missing something. Do you have a spare?" And if it's a 3D printed kit like this and you're talking directly to the manufacturer, they're likely to be able to just ship you a spare one out or even give you the part to print. So, there we have the basics. So, yeah, very standard. Now, what I'll be doing is I'll be cleaning some of these bits up. Now, let's start with this one. This will be the easiest one. So, I'm just taking the nips and I'm going in and clearing off all these supports. Now, you'll find a lot of the time with supports is that when you get one bit, they just all basically fall off. So if you just very carefully snip. Now, bear in mind that resin is very brittle. So if you go in too hard, you can break everything. So what you sometimes do is you do a double cut. You cut up, like say here, to just break off some of the material, and then go in lower. Now, in this case, it's all just come off my hat. Oh, pretty much in my hands. That's the last bit here. And that's just went ping everywhere. So I'm going to show you a trick in a moment for that, because whilst that was just excess bits that we don't really want, there's parts that you will want. So yeah, let's move on. Now I'm just going to quickly do the same with this one. And there. So that's that all done. Now, this is the bit that is going to cause me problems. So, first tip. A hobby saw like this, if you're using it to cut the supports, often causes less pressure on the part and less likely to break. So we'll just gently saw this off. It's got stuck. Now, I'm going to need a bigger handle for this. So this is where the hobby knife comes in. So as I say, I've got a hobby knife that's got attachments, so it can turn it into a saw. Not all knives do that, but I like the ones that do. Well, in saying that, there is times I use a metal one rather than the plastic, especially when it comes to the resin. I find when you're actually working with the 3D printed resin, like raw, the plastic one has a tendency to react with the resin and disintegrate. So yeah, I don't know if it is actually the resin or the IP, but in any case, I would use the metal one for that because it's more stable. So I'm just sawing this off. So this is just like that double cut I was showing earlier, except it is with the hobby saw. So it just does so. It's little pressure, and there. Okay, so that's the part there. Now we've got some points that are attaching to it still. We've got a bit up here which is going to be very fragile to take off. We've got some bits down here. Now I'm going to show a trick with this before I go in and cut the big bit. So, take your snips, cover the part. Just give it a little squeeze. Just make sure you've actually got the bit that you're wanting to cut. And you cut it. Now, doing this means that the part does not fly off, because something this small is going to get eaten by the carpet monster. You will never see it again. So yeah, especially with something like this that is so delicate that it can easily break. So yeah, now I'm just going to quickly take this bit off. Now I'm going to go with the very long one that's going right up to the antenna. So I'll go here, hand round, there. So let's see, how much of that did I get off? Almost all of it. There's a little bit left. So there. And I see a couple more little bits. So that's that cleaned off. There's just one there. Right. So when I cleaned those off, I didn't get everything. So a couple of things you can do just to clean this up a bit more. Taking the hobby knife, we can go in and just do that. Just catch any bits that are sticking out and ping them off with a knife. As I said, normally resin's brittle enough that if you get a small bit, it will just go ping and you will never need to worry about it unless you're doing a hoover. So yeah, so you can use that. However, not all parts work. So you see, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little bit on that circular part there. So that's actually going to need sanded. So this is where I need my mask. So if in post-production this sounds rubbish, then I will be dubbing over it. So, mask. Post-production Stephen here. Yeah, you could not hear me when I put my mask on, so I'm just going to dub over this part and cut it down because it ended up being quite long. Basically, I'm starting off with the low grit sandpaper, so the 180 stuff. So this is the coarsest stuff I've got, and I'm just sanding down the nub marks. Now, you start off with the low grit stuff, so like the 180, because it will just rip through the material. You'll then move on to the lower grit, so for instance the 4000 grit here, when you've cleaned off most of the work. It sort of smooths over the work you've done because you will see that part that's been sanded down by something as heavy as the 180 grit sandpaper will be quite rough. Now, I find when I'm doing this sometimes that I have to go in and snip bits off, so that's what I do here is I find that I've actually not got all the support material, so I'll just snip it off. No harm done, and then just go back in with the sandpaper and smooth it down. So my hope for this, and it doesn't pan out, is that I could get the wheels to turn. So I need to try to really smooth this down. That's what I'm doing here. The parts do have enough clearance that this could have been a possibility, but the parts do tend to bind up, so 3D printing is not really great for moving parts. It's just something you can sometimes do with wheels. So yeah, I'm just sanding it back with the, I think it's the 140, no, 1500, and then I've moved on to the very light stuff. Now, you don't always have to go right the way down, especially with these parts that I'm doing here. See here, when you assemble them, the part that I'm doing will be hidden, so yeah, there isn't going to be a huge amount of effort needed to like hide mistakes or smooth over parts that look horrible. So yeah, I'm also going to cut the video a little short here because I went and sanded all these parts down, and you've seen one part being sanded, you've seen them all. So back to regular old me. Okay, now I no longer need to sand anything. I can take my mask off. Now we're going to start assembling the kit. So first off, let's put all the parts somewhere safe. So I'm just going to put them back in the box. Now this particular box does have some holes in it. So this is not the safest way to do it. I would actually say put it back in the little poly bag that came with the kit. Now, okay, so I've got that one. So, first bit we are doing is A3. Well, basically A section. It's one of the sort of arms of this kit. So I'm just going to make sure I get everything the right way around. So, is this the right one? No, it's the opposite side. So then, we're going to put it here. Yep, that's it, I think. Just checking against this. Yep. And we have that. And we need a wheel. Yeah, I'll do. So, we need our glue. And I'm going to use something to put the glue in. Now, this is just a little metal dish used for mixing paints. I've kind of ruined it, so I use it for glue these days. So, just a couple of drops of glue in there. And then, cocktail stick. So, and what I'm doing, I'm just applying it to this connection point here. That way, just glue all around and there. So yeah, that way I'm only putting on the parts I need it to be. Did I just smear it on the part? May have. Okay, if this doesn't glue together right, it's my fault, not the part. So, and just double check. Is this even right? Because there's a right way and a wrong way for this part. I've got the wrong one. So, it should be this one then. So that one is where it goes. So remember this way around. Does it fit? Yes. Okay. So that's me got these parts put together. Now, I was hoping that this would be able to be turned, but it doesn't look like it's going to be able to. So that's now fixed in place. Actually, hold on. This doesn't look all that great. So, nope. Right, so something in here is stopping it from going in. So let's start again. So I'm just going in with a hobby knife. Just checking all around here to make sure there's no parts. Also just going to give a quick carve with the knife. And just a quick check round the rim. So any part that is connecting, I am double checking to see if there is any sort of imperfection or support that didn't get cleaned up. Like I think that's one there. And that, and there. Okay, so I'm going to put a bit more of the glue on. Only on that bit. And then wheel. I'm just going to try and get the tread the right way around. I'll do it this way. Oh, I've actually got glue on my finger there, so I have to be very careful with this now. It will stick to anything. So turn this until it's in the right orientation and push. And that is much better. So yeah, there was a little bit stuck in there that was causing it not to connect. So that's essentially how you would assemble a 3D printed part. I'm just going to go ahead and make the rest of the kit. So yeah, this is a very basic kit, so it should be much more complicated than that. And where's that wheel section? Should be another wheel. Ah, there it is, in the corner. So again, just going to double check. So this tread is going this way around. So the tread goes there. That's very tight. Now just quick check, because I did have problems with the last side of this. So just quick scrape with a knife all round. I think I found the same culprit. There. Okay, and then just a tad of glue right in the center. Doesn't have to be too much. This isn't a big part, so now just trying to get the orientation of this part round the right way. You won't see it on camera. The detail is too fine, and clear green resin is terrible for letting you see detail. But what I'm trying to do is line up. There's a little bit in the middle there. I'm just trying to line it up in the right orientation. So put that together, and that is this section here. As I say, I've assembled this kit a few times, so I know what I'm doing. So this is the rear part. Now I'm just going to quickly go over this with the knife. Make sure that there is no parts that are going to cause any issues. Do the same for this bit, although I have sanded this side down, so that's fine. And that's all fine. So, check. Yeah, that's the... Oh, hold on. Do it the other way around. And then... Oh, it's just fallen out. So that's actually a good sign, because that means this tire's a little loose, which is what I want. So, there. And then, so it goes in like this. So how do I want this orientation? I want it like, well, I don't see it on that, but I believe it should be this way around. So let's make sure it actually fits. Yep, there we go. If I've done this right. Oh no, I haven't done it right. I think I put too much glue in and it's kind of smeared out. Okay, so there. Now the next part, let's see, it is putting on this little radiator onto the side of the hull. So just a quick check on the hull, make sure it's all fine. Yeah, it looks all fine. So it's in there. Again, tiny little bit. In there, and we're good. So that is first page done. Now, of course, super glue dries near instantaneous, so that's pretty much set already. So we can just keep moving on, and this is where we start to assemble the main body. So I'm going to assemble the front two bits first. So which way around do they go? It is that side. So pop it in like that. Just give it a good squeeze. So you're just gonna, on this one, run the hobby knife round this. Now it should be fine. I just noticed that with that one I was putting in there, it's a little tight. So I want to try to make sure that it's not as tight as that when I fit it in. So Nope, not quite dried yet on this side, so I need to make sure they're both in. And then this is the final part. Slip in there. Now, this is a round peg, so it's round so you can sort of orientate it to whatever like terrain you're putting this on. Now, just notice something. There is still a little bit of a support bit there. So just go in. Oh, that was stupid. No blood, so it's all fine. So yeah, just go in and nip that. Just take the hobby knife and just gently scrape. So just to check it now fits. Very tightly, but that's fine because I want to try to just no, it's not in. Okay, why are you not in? I think there's more support material around it, so okay, so hold on, what's this? So just trying to line the wheels up. Okay, that's looking good. So I'm going to use quite a bit of super glue in this particular part because it is not to move and I want to make sure it doesn't. So there. And just put this in. Just make sure this is all straight. Oh, and I've just noticed something. In there, there's actually a lot of little supports. So I'm going to leave them for now because I want this to all dry before I start messing around with that. And whilst it is quite quick, I said earlier it's instantaneous. It's not quite, especially when it comes to resin on resin contact. Superglue was originally designed to put human flesh back together. This is why it tends to stick well to human flesh and anything else that you happen to be around. So yeah, it was originally used for like healing up wounds. So yeah, okay, so we've got this. Now I am wanting to keep it on, but I'm just making sure it fits. Oh, and I've spotted another little bit. Oh, that's actually part of the kit. Okay. I was just cleaning off another bit with the knife. So it should now. There. Okay. Know this fits. So that's why I always test fit to make sure it does actually fit and then plop it in. And there. So yeah, I'm going to have this off at the slight angle for a change. Normally I have those sort of things facing straight forward, but in this case, no, let's do it that way. Now, quick check on this. How well do you fit in? Fine. So now, is there a side that I would say you put the glue on? The male or female connector? Be honest, either will do. It just depends on what you're working with. So I try to put it on the female side because it's got a sort of groove that you can put things in, but you've also seen me there put it on the male side to connect it in. So anyway, there, that's that one. And that's the last one. And there. And that is how you assemble a 3D printer kit. Oh, I've just noticed this one is a little off, so just a little more pressure. So there. So that is the kit all assembled, and that's how you do it. So yeah, they're fairly straightforward. As I say, you may need to use this. In this case, with the way this was made, you didn't have to. But on larger kits, you may need to use stuff like model filler to fill gaps. I know people that use super glue to do that. I know people that use green stuff or milliput to do that. It's your own preference. As long as the panel lines that are there are actually meant to be there and not just artifacts of assembling the kit, you're fine. So, hope you found this interesting and you learned something today. You can check out the links in the description below for all my social media and links to the actual model here. There's a 3D printed version where you can download it, and there's a version that I'll actually send out to you. So, thank you for watching.